What is new, my Mystic crew? So today we have our first match against Mark. So I'll start off by normal summoning the Firewall Defensor, and I link him off into our Lingaribo. This will now trigger our Defensor's effect, which will allow us to special summon another Firewall monster from our deck. So let's see what happens here. But I chain it as well with the Parallel Exceed. Therefore, it is blocked. I've chain blocked the Defensor, so it cannot be ashed. I go ahead and summon the Phantom, and then activate the Parallel Exceeds effect. When it is special summoned, you can special summon another one from the deck, of course making them both level 4 with 1000 attack and defense instead. So at this stage, we then overlay our two Parallel Exceeds into our Prime Mathmech Albertion, which has the on-summon effect of Detach 2 to add a Mathmech card from deck to hand. Mark has no response here at this stage, so we go ahead and add the Circular. I believe it's Circular I add, so bear with me. Yep, there we go. We add the Circular to our hand. From here, we now activate said Circular. So Circular activates from hand by sending a different Mathmech monster from the deck to the graveyard and special summons itself. I then activate Albertion's other effect, which is where I contribute a card on the field to special summon a Mathmech monster from graveyard or hand. And of course I special summon back that Nebula, which triggers the Circular effect to add a spell or trap from our deck to our hand. As long as of course that spell or trap we're adding is to do with Mathmechs. So I'll go ahead and add the Super Factorial. From here I activate Nebula's effect to tribute the Circular to special summon a Diameter. So Diameter is only on normal summon, so I do not get a special summon from the grave here, but we do go ahead and linking off that Firewall Phantom into our Splash Mage. So Firewall Phantom will now activate, allowing us to add a spell or trap from our deck, which says Cynet in its card name. So I can either grab our Cynet Mining or our Cynet Conflict. I believe I grab the Conflict here. Yes, I do. That is a beautiful counter trap, which negates spell, trap, or monster effect, so it does both. Then I go ahead and activate the Splash Mage effect to special summon back one monster, well, one Cyverse monster in defense mode, but its effects are negated. From here, I'm having a little think about what I want to do, what I want my end board to be, but I go ahead and link 3 off for the transcode, because either way that would be the next step in either line which I decide to go for. Activate the transcode. I did think about bringing back the Lingaribo, but opted against it in the end and went Splash. And then I linked 3 into the Heat Soul. I now go ahead and activate Heat Soul, but first of all, of course, because I've gone searching through that deck, you've got to give it a shuffle and let our opponent give it a cut. And we draw a card, so at the cost of 1000 life points. From here, I set 3 and I pass turn. So we know face down there we have our Super Factorial, we have our Cynet Conflict, and the third card at this stage is unknown. Our opponent goes ahead and draws their card. He is on a Hieratic Bystails deck, which is always fun. Always fun. You never know when to interrupt these sort of games. So from here we see what he does. He normal summons. I go ahead and chain the Heat Soul to get that draw. Should have activated it during the standby phase, but it is game 1 of the day, so still a little tired here. So Heat Soul gives me the additional draw, and we move on. From here, Mark's having a good think about what he wants to do. Mark is a very competent player. He does love his not meme decks. That's not correct. He likes to experiment with different archetypes to see what they can do. So here he summons the new Aluba of Bystails, or whatever that thing's called. I asked him what it does because it's something I'm not overly familiar with, but he's saying that basically he can do XYZ with it. I honestly can't remember what it does. I do need to look that up again. So from here, having a think, he's explaining everything to me. So I decided to go ahead, and I was thinking of doing the silent conflict, but instead went for the infinite imperm, which negates the monster's effect. I do apologise about any background noise. We do have some workmen drilling on the side of our house. I thought they were done for now, but clearly not. From here, he goes ahead and synchros 10 because that thing's also a tuner, which, who knew? He goes into the new Bystails link monster. From here, I go ahead on summon and chain the Cynet, not the Cynet conflict, the superfactorial, special summoning back 3 Mathmech monsters, and then overlaying all 3 of them into Leplation, which now, of course, will send the monster he controls and rip a card out of his hand. So he may have got that monster out, but it's not staying out. This, of course, does have a on-summon effect as well. So I go ahead and use the Leplation to Omni-negate, and then I detach the 2 to not to banish, to destroy. And he has 4 cards in hand, so we roll the dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 re-rolls. So there's number 2, so that card goes as well. So now he's got nothing left on field, he's used his normal summon, and he has 3 cards left in hand. From here, I still have my Silent Conflict down, and we have quite a stacked board. He decides to go ahead and banish a monster for the white dragon. I honestly can't remember its name. It's like White Wyvern Buster Dragon or something. And then he links it off for Striker Dragon. He goes to activate the White Dragon's effect. But from here, instead, I decide to go ahead. And I use the Lampertian Omni-negate here, which I thought I used it earlier, but guess not. And from here, he just scoops it up. He knows he's got nothing. He's left with the Striker Dragon, and the cards I had on the field was more than enough to ATK him, and that's without going into access code or anything in my following turn. So we go to game 2. We get our side deck out here. By the looks of it, Mark's not siding. Not entirely sure why. It's always worth siding. Here, I'm having a look to see what would do me some good going second. I put down 6 cards, 3 of which are Dark Ruler no more, 3 of which are evenly matched. Now I'm having a look to see what I can drop from the deck. I need to get into the habit of showing the camera the cards I'm siding in and the cards I'm siding out. But I'm basically siding out the 3 copies of Draw and Knockbird. I believe I side out 1 Parallel Exceed and 1 Effect Veiler as well, and decide to only put in 2 evenly matches instead, because I just really could not decide on the 6th card to side out at this stage. So while siding is happening, we are going through all of our local videos at the moment and updating the thumbnails, because one of my great friends has made me a bunch for free, which is absolutely amazing. So if you do like the thumbnail or like the content, drop this video a like. Always nice to know that you are enjoying the content. But we're moving into game 2 here. Oh, it looks like he is siding after all, so I do apologise here. See, Mark's doing a better job of showing you what he's siding out than what I did. Obviously, I do not have access to the camera footage while we're playing, so I cannot see what's in Mark's hand at all. This is the first time I'm actually seeing this view, so it's quite funny. Here, while Mark's still siding, I decided to take the opportunity to power shuffle. I would always recommend power shuffling each round. I didn't a lot of the time yesterday, but it's always good for mixing up your deck, especially when you side or when you do a massive combo play, just to mix all your pieces back up. So yeah, so decided to do a little power shuffle there while I was waiting. Now we're scooping up our cards, ready to take it into game 2. So Mark decides to go first, I believe, which is obviously very smart. You don't want, with Mathmech, they can go through the play, which I just did pretty confidently every time. So you don't really want to be playing for a Superfactorial, Omni-negate and Silent Conflict unless you absolutely have to, or unless, of course, you're playing a go second deck. So from here, Mark does decide to go first. As we can see there in his hand, he does have the Cypher dragon thing, which he summoned, and he does have a Call by the Grave. So he goes ahead, ditches a monster for search, I Ash, and he drops that Call by. So that's fine. We got the Call by out of the way, and I know we didn't see an Ash in his hand there when he was just showing it, but we didn't know that at the time. So also, Call by would stop his Ash from activating on our turn, and our deck is a lot more weak to Ash than what his is. So essentially, he's done us a favour there. So he goes ahead, throws a card face down. He banishes a light to summon his Mathmech, which on summon during the end phase he can search for another dragon, which is a-okay. We're absolutely fine with this. He then decides to go ahead and synchros off. And this is where things get interesting. He synchros the Chaos Angel. I decided to give it a read just because I have not came across this card before. It's obviously a new card from CYAC, but and I know that it's bloody powerful. But basically, because it was made with a light and a dark, it cannot be destroyed by card effects, and I can't remember its other effect. But basically, I was unsure how to get over this without getting a massive body on the field to beat over it. And obviously, Mark still has a face down card, so it was very touch and go of shit, what do we do? So from here, like, it's just I'm thinking, and you'll see here that Mark actually makes a misplay, which he doesn't do it here. He does it on our turn. He makes a misplay, which is good for us, but obviously bad for him. From here now, he's shuffling. He's added his dragon because it's his end phase. So it's now our turn. We cut his deck, of course, for him. And we move to our turn. So we draw for turn. And I really need to show these cards back to the camera because I can't see nothing in my hand there. So from here, we go ahead and we have a little think. Okay, so we've got a Dark Ruler no more, and we've got an evenly matched in the hand. So the initial thought was I could Dark Ruler it, negate its effects, but then I do no damage to him this turn. Another thought was evenly matched, but then he could just banish his face down, and I'd still be stuck with the monster and giving up the battle phase to then swing over it. So I decided to go ahead and normal summon the Defensor, activate the link him off into the Lingaribo, activate the Defensor effect to special summon out another Firewall from deck, which we go for the Firewall Guardian because we didn't actually open it in our hand this game. From here we have a little think, just discussing what Guardian does. Explain, of course, when it's sent to the grave as link material, you get special summon it back, but then its banishment leaves the field that turn. So from here, Mark's having to think about what he wants to do. He decides that everything is okay. We go ahead and link 2 off into the Splash Mage. So Fireball Guardian will now bring itself back. So there he comes, and then we do Splash targeting the Defensor. So there is the Defensor. I go to overlay, but he then stops me and says, well, actually, on summon, and flips out Book of Eclipse, which flips all monsters on the field face down. And then at the end of the turn, they get flipped, and I draw a card for each one of my monsters that get flipped back face up. And this wasn't a misplay. He's just flipped his own Chaos Angel down. I was struggling to come up with a plan to get over that. My plan was literally consisting of get to access code and beat over it. But now it's sustained. Now I can destroy it with card effects because it's face down. So excellent. So I'll go ahead and activate the Cynet Mining, ditch a card for cost, and our opponent plays the Mathmech or Druid's Worm, whatever that is, banishing a dark from my grave to special summon it. Now, I also misplay here. I should have really read what the fuck that card does because I didn't, and it does bite me in the ass in the moment. So I search for the Circular. Circular, I decide to send, I believe I just send Sigma here. But I'm having a good think about it because there's no real point doing Nabla at this stage unless I'm looking for follow-up, but then Sigma's just as good. But I do decide on the Nabla, sorry, I am wrong. So there is our Cynet Mining. I then target his monster with subtraction and spec out subtraction from our hand, which then triggers a circular search effect. So we go ahead and grab our superfactorial. From here we do the whole nice link 3 into transcode bring back splash, and then link 3 off again into heat soul and pay 1,000 to draw a card, because why wouldn't you? If you have access to draw a card, you draw a card, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to get you what you need. But again, of course, I'm going into the deck, so you got to give it a good shuffle, let your opponent give it a cut. You never ever go in after you search, because that gives you unfair card advantage. You always shuffle and pass it over for the cut. So from here we draw a card. Not really anything that can help us at this stage, but will be good for follow-up if I remember correctly. And then from here I link everything off into access code. So doesn't matter which monster I target, either way he gains the 3,000 attack, making him 5/3. And this is where I mess up. So I banish fire, of course, popping his face down card, and then I banish earth. So I mess up twice here. First of all, should not have banished earth, because I could have flipped the other two into G-Golem. G-Golem bring back transcode. Transcode bring back something else. And, you know, bish bash bosh off, then got to fill the monsters again. But no, I go ahead and banish the wrong monster. But not only that, the monster I then pop, because it is destroyed by a card effect, gets to just send the monster I control to the grave. So, but then at the end turn, they both get flipped. We're just confirming that they get flipped to defense mode and not attack mode. He confirms it is defense, and I get to draw 2 cards. But again, we are still in a strong position. We have 2 face downs, one of which being superfactorial, and our opponent is stuck with only 2 cards in hand, and not really a whole lot more he can do from here. So he's having a good think about it. And then from here, he asks what I've got in grave. So, and then he banishes. There goes the lights and darks for the Chaos Dragon Levineer. Now, you cannot chain 2 Chaos Dragon Levineer's effect. Well, you can technically, but because it's non-targeting, you have to do what you're doing on summon. You cannot do it once he declares the effect. So, therefore, I just go into the Laplation, because, yeah, you're going to target the back row, aren't you? So, he targets the Laplation just to get that off the field, along with the face down card, which was the evenly matched. But Chaos Dragon Levineer cannot attack the turn it activates that effect. So we are safe in that sense. So from here, he's having a look over my monster's defense points. He can beat over Defensor, and that's cool. That's not a problem. We let that go through because, hell, like, why wouldn't we? So Defensor goes to the grave, and Mark passes turn there. So, don't know why he's picked up his deck and he's having a look. Oh yeah, that's right, because when it destroys a monster, he can special summon a dragon from his deck, but make its attack and defense 0. So he brings out the level 2 Tuna monster, which is quite nice. It's nice to see the old cards still have some play in the game. So then from here, he does go into a level 8, which is the Ice Jade, which was not expecting, to be honest with you. And yeah, it's a good move, because Ice Jade, which is something I didn't realise. I had to learn this the hard way. So when Ice Jade activates its effect in response to a monster's effect, that monster gets banished, which I knew that, but I thought that was only if the effect he was activating, like, was to destroy or banish one of theirs. Not just, oh, chain it to a monster effect and then it banishes that monster. That is insane. Like, because here I go ahead and I go to activate the Firewall Guardian effect to special summon it back from the grave. Because he was flipped down, he was no longer going to get banished when sent to the grave, which means you can recycle that whole effect right there. But from here, we are discussing what the Ice Jade monster does, just because obviously I do use it in Sword Soul, so I was just making sure. And like I said, like the fact that I didn't connect that dot, that you can just chain it to any monster effect and then it banishes that monster. Big brain move. Absolute big brain move. And that is what Mark does. He takes these little niche things and he makes them explosive, which is absolutely amazing. But yeah, so I link 2 off into the IP, go to activate the Guardian effect, and this is where he chains. So this is where the discussion comes, what I just said about, oh, you know, XYZ. And he's like, no, it just banishes when it's chained to a monster effect. It doesn't need to be an effect that destroys or anything along those lines. So, fantastic, spot on. It was definitely an eye-opening move, that's for sure. So then from there, it was a case of that got banished because that was chain 2 due to that. That's what we're still discussing here. We're just going through it all. So chain, yeah, this is where I'm just reading, just double check the wording. Don't get me wrong, I fully believe Mark, but if you are ever unsure, even if your opponent is trustworthy, just double check. Takes 2 minutes to double check. So my Guardian gets banished, but the Firewall Defensor effect still goes through, as that was chain link 1, allowing me to special summon a different Firewall monster. So here comes the Firewall Phantom, which is absolutely fine, still allows us to open up and carry on our plays, which yeah, which I don't think Mark realised. And then I activate the Circular from hand, ditching, I'm assuming I ditched the Sigma here. And as you can see, Mark was like, damn it, Circular. But yeah, we have Circular, because why would we not? So here comes Circular. Now I link off again into update, I believe. I'll go update drama here. I'm having a look at cards in my hand. Yep, we go link 2 into update drama. Wonderful. And then Phantom effect activates. And this is where I then play my big brain move, which is, instead of grabbing the conflict, let's grab the Cynet mining, which I activate pitching the other Cynet mining from my hand, allowing me to grab addition or subtraction. I can't remember which one I grabbed, which one I've used. I think subtraction was used last game, so we should be okay. Yeah, I was just double checking the grave there, like shit. Okay, subtraction is in grave, so let's grab addition instead, because it's the only other extender I've got. So I grab the addition, we then just target one of our own monsters, don't matter which, to special summon it out. And then we go link 5 into the Terahertz. So Terahertz has some wonderful effects. You can discard, you can send a card from your extra deck or main deck to the graveyard, and it gains 2500 attack permanent boost, as well as if it has a different attribute, it can attack that many times. So for example, he is a dark, so if you send the wind, he then takes on the wind attribute as well, giving him 2 attributes, giving him 2 attacks. Because he is made through IP, IP can't be targeted, so he can't be destroyed with card effects, and because he was made with update drama, he can attack twice this turn anyway, so we're all good on the attack front. Because I do send a monster here, he does go up to 5k. So 5500, he gains the 25 and he's already on 3000. So from here we move to battle phase. I'll swing into the Ice Jade for 2500 damage, and then I swing into his other monster, which we're both bad at math. As I say, like the meme of Yu-Gi-Oh players can't read. No, Yu-Gi-Oh players can't do math. So we figured out how much we lost here, which is 3700, and then pass turn back to Mark. So he is on 1800, as you can see there. He has no cards in hand. It is a top deck situation, and he top decks Nibiru, which really just not going to help him this turn. Last turn, that would have been devastating. This turn, he knows that's game, and we wrap it up there, and we take this one 2-0.